In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to create a basic web page. I am going to be using a template to do this. This contains some additional lines of code. But before I begin working, I want to make sure that I have everything set up correctly. So one of the first things I want to do is create a folder and put everything I'm going to need into this folder. And I'm going to call this Web Demo. So in this folder then, I want to make sure I have everything in there. So I'm going to go ahead and move my blank HTML page, and it's not, again, entirely blank. There are some additional lines of code. I'm also going to be including a picture on each of my web pages. I'm going to be creating a two-page website. So I also want to put those pictures in here, and I also want to make sure that they are correctly sized. So I'm going to go ahead and find a picture. I have a couple of some rainbows that were here the other month. And so I'm going to go ahead and open one of these up. And one of the issues with this is that this is going to be much larger than I want it to be on my website. So I need to resize this image. And so in this particular program, this is preview, just standard preview that's on the Mac. Up on the toolbar, there's a thing that says Tools, Adjust Size. So then it pops up with this dialog. I'm going to make mine around 300. I'm going to leave it linked and let it automatically change the height to 400. So make sure that you resize your images to whatever size they need to be. So I'm going to go ahead and save this as a different file name. I'm also going to shrink this window down a little bit if I can grab a hold of it. There we go. And move it back onto the screen. So I'm going to go up to the menu bar, go to File, go to Save As, give it a name. I'm going to call it Rainbow 1, and I am going to put it on my desktop in that folder that I've created called Web Demo. So right now then I have in my web folder, Web Demo folder, my blank HTML and my Rainbow 1. I'm going to have two pages. I want a picture on each of the pages, so I'm going to open up another one and resize it as well. So I'm going to go up to my menu bar, go up to my tools, adjust size. Again, we'll make this one 300 wide. This one's going to be a little bit smaller. That's fine. Notice too that the file is much smaller than it originally was, and that's one of the reasons we're doing this. And again, I'm going to do File, Save As, save it to my Web Demo folder. It's on my desktop. I'm going to name this one Rainbow 2. Make sure when you're naming your files, don't put any special characters in there. Don't put any spaces. Otherwise, you'll have some additional difficulties. All right. So I'm done with my pictures. I've got both of them now resized and saved in my Web Demo folder. Got my blank HTML. So I'm going to go ahead and open this. And the program that I'm going to be using is Text Wrangler. It is available for the Mac only. There are many other programs you can use. So just watch when you're using those that it doesn't add extra kinds of characters. Again, let me just resize this so that you can see it. All right. So this is my blank HTML, my template, and here are a couple of the lines that are already placed in there. It also has in there some of the lines, tags, elements associated with the head. So here's the head portion, and it already has the body tags in there, and it has the HTML tags. So everything that's associated with this page is going to be in between the HTML. The two parts of the HTML are the head and the body. So you'll also notice in here that there's a tag that I didn't cover in my other video, and it's the title tag. What this does, this controls what appears up on the top tab of your web browser. And let me show you what I mean by that. This is already saved as is. I'm going to go ahead and go to this blank HTML. I'm actually opening it up then in my web browser. And let's open it up. Let's do Firefox. And again, let me resize this so it fits in my recording window. There's the welcome that was between the title tags. So if I go back to Text Wrangler, let's say for example I were to change this to hello. I'm going to save it, so I'm doing Command S. If I then go back to my web browser, you're going to say, well, it didn't change. It has not been refreshed. So I need to come over and tap to refresh. You'll see it now says hello. So I'm going to go and continue working on this web page. Go back into Text Wrangler. I'm going to put this back to welcome because this is going to be my welcome page. And actually I don't want to continue to overwrite my template, so I'm going to go up and I'm going to do File, and I'm going to be doing Save As. And I'm going to call this one index.html. That is customary for whatever your home page is going to be. So index.html will be my first page. So let me add some things in here. For example, in my body, maybe I have a heading that I want to put on here. So that's going to be my H tags. I'm going to indent in. I like indenting in so it's a little bit more clear as to what's contained in what sections between what tags. So I'm going to put this as an H1 type of heading. Whatever I want for this heading. Let's make a website. I put in between my tags. I need to have corresponding closing tag. If I now save this, if I then go into my index.html, and let me go ahead, I'm going to close this other one because we're not going to be using it. You'll see there's the size of an H1. So let's continue working on our website. Back to Text Wrangler. So let's say I need a paragraph after, and I need some additional kinds of text. That's going to be between my P tags. This website is all about me and my accomplishments. You will find and da 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 da. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and have my closing tag on there. So that can go on and on, multiple sentences. That's what a paragraph is about. If I save it, if I go to that page, you'll see that there it is. So if I needed additional paragraphs, I would simply continue adding my P tags, putting in additional information is included in this paragraph. So whatever you need, you simply make those sentences in text, placing them between the appropriate tags. Again, I'm going to save, go back to Firefox, do a refresh. There's my other paragraph. Let's say I need a heading. Again, well, I need to add an H. So let's do an H3 this time. Maybe I'm going to put in here contact information. Need my closing tag. I'm going to save it, Command S, go to Firefox, do a refresh. Here's an H1, this is an H3. We mentioned that we're going to have a picture in here. We can do that a number of different ways. Let's say I want a picture right there. So I need the IMG tag. I need to identify what the source is, what image I'm using, and I need to include where it's located. Since it is in the same location as the web page that's trying to access it, all I would need to do is put in the name of the file. I should include alt text, so I'm going to put a rainbow so that screen readers, when they are being used, will say the word rainbow when it comes across that picture. So people with visual impairments know what there is on the screen. Title, I'm going to put the same thing. That's the tooltip that appears. And then I need to close my tag. Command S to save it. Go back into Firefox, do a refresh, and there is the picture. I can also place pictures in line with the text. If that were the case, then I would need to have this tag in line with some text. That could be a part of an H1, that could be part of a P tag. So this could get moved someplace else. Let's say, for example, I take and I cut it out of there, and let's put it right there. I'm simply going to paste it in that location. I think I got everything. I'm going to save it, go into Internet Explorer, and do a refresh. So here's the text. The picture is in line with the text, and then the text continues. Now there are ways to make it wrap around. With this basic HTML, we're not going to be doing that. So I'm going to go ahead and go back, and actually I'm going to simply put that back as text that is on a separate line. I can also put in my web page a link to a different website or another page on my website. So that's going to be done using that ahref. So let's do that. Let's go ahead and put in the ahref. It needs to know what page we're going to load, just as we would be doing with an image. So we have the equals, and then I'm going to call this one about.html. And that's assuming that that page is going to be located in the exact same place as the page that's accessing it. That is then followed by the closing part of that tag, and then whatever text I want to be the link. So I could put in there something like click here to go to the about page, and then I need to end it with my closing tag. So I've got the /a. Let me save it. Let me go to Firefox. Let me do a refresh. Scroll down here. You'll see there's click here to go to the about page. If I click it right now, I don't have that page created, and I will get an error, and we'll create that in just a little bit. Notice also that it went right after that image. There's a couple different ways that we can solve that problem. For now, what we'll do is simply stick in a P tag with nothing in between it. So now it's on a separate line. scoot that up just a little bit and pull it down a little bit. All right. All right, let's look at how we can control the look of these different elements a little bit more. I'm going to get rid of a couple extra spaces and lines here. So one of the things we can do is make use of styles, and specifically CSS, cascading style sheets. And what that allows us to do is to tell it how we want things to look in one place on our web page, and everything that is associated with that will change. So if we have 14 H1 headings on a web page, rather than change it 14 times, we can change it in one place. So let me show you, for example. Now those need to go up into the head of our web page because this is about what's on the page. It is not the actual content. So I'm going to go ahead and put it right after my title. So I'm going to go ahead and create the necessary tag. So it's going to be a style tag, and the type is going to be text/CSS. I need a closing tag for that, and that's going to be style, of course, with the slash. Now, I get in this habit of oftentimes creating the opening tag and the closing tag with the space in between, and then going back and filling in, rather than trying to remember that I need to add that closing tag. That way I'm always sure I have the opening and closing part of that. So let's say, for example, that I want to affect all of my paragraph text. So I could say I need to identify what I want to control, what tag I'm going to influence. And then I need the open curly brace, the left curly brace. Then after that, I put in all of the properties that I want to control and their associated values. For example, maybe I want to control the font. So I could say font dash family colon. And now I need to tell it what family of fonts I want to use. Let's say Arial. That would be my number one choice. If maybe for some reason that's not installed on the machine, I want then to use Verdana. I end that line with a semicolon. Maybe I want the font size of all of my text in my p tags to be a certain size. I use font dash size, and let's make it 1.9 M. There are different ways to specify sizes and measurements. We're going to be using M's here. We'll get into the others a little bit more later. All right, let's look at what this has done for us so far. Oh, don't forget the semicolon. So open curly brace. We need each of our properties and their value, and we need to make sure we have our closing curly brace. So this brackets in those elements that are associated with my p tags. So I'm going to save this, go to my Firefox, let me do a refresh. Notice that now all of those elements that are associated with the paragraph tags have now changed. So if I were to go back and say, hey, that 1.9 looks too big, I want to be 1.0, I'm going to save it, Firefox, refresh, you can now see that it is smaller. And you'll also notice that the font is now different as well because I specified the font family. So if I had 15 p tags, sets of p tags on this particular web page, all of them would change by changing it in that one place. All right, let's look at some other ones. Let's say that maybe I have a heading that I want to control. So I am using an H1 and an H3. Let's say I want my H1s to have maybe a different color. I could do that. So I specify the tag. I have my open curly brace. I have my closing curly brace. In between, I need to put what I'm controlling. So let's call it color. And there's a number of ways of specifying colors. We could simply specify them by saying, let's see, red. So let's save it. Firefox. And we'll go ahead and do a refresh. So now you can see that that has changed. Now, the problem with using words for controlling the color is that you're fairly limited. There are millions and millions of colors that you have access to, but there aren't names given to each one of those millions and millions of colors. So there are other ways of specifying those colors. And I'll show you one of those ways in just a bit. Maybe my H3s need to have some control applied to them. Maybe it is a particular font size. Maybe I want my H3 to be 1.3 ems. Save it. Firefox and refresh. So now that's changed. So I can control all of these different elements that are on my web page. And I could put color in here for my H3. I could put color up in here for my P tags. Whatever is appropriate for that particular element, I can specify. There is another tag, body, that we can also include in here. So maybe I want to control some elements associated with my body. So body, open curly brace. You need to make sure I have a closing curly brace. And I'm just going to do a little bit of cleaning up here. I like to keep things organized. It helps in your debugging. All right. Well, one that I can specify is a background color. So background color. And here I don't want to pick a red, green, blue, white. I want to pick some very specific color. So there is on the Adobe website a feature, a color wheel called Kuler, K-U-L-E-R. So you can do a search for that. I also have a link on it on my page, and it will give you families of colors. You can pick and choose and mix and match, and it'll give you the different specifications for that color. Well, this particular color that I want is hex, so that's what the pound sign's for, and it's an 8F BC 8F. So save, tab, refresh. So now I have a background color. Another thing I don't like is how close this is to the edge. I want to put a little bit of space in there. So I am going to add a margin. So its margin is the property. The value, I'm going to try 30 px for pixels. Got to make sure I end it with a semicolon. So let me save. Firefox, refresh. So now I've increased my margin. My suggestion would be to go ahead and get your first page looking the way that you want. That way the styles can then be taken and applied to your other web pages. And there is a way in which you can have a single file affect all of the pages in your website. We're not going to get out of here for this basic discussion. So we'll have this portion on each of our web pages, our 2 web pages that we're going to have. So let's say that I'm happy with this page. I've got it looking the way that I want. I like the styles that I have, and now I want to go ahead and create my other page. What I would then do is take and go File, Save As. So I'm going up to the menu bar, doing a Save As, and I'm going to call it About, because remember, I need that second page. So now I'm going to go ahead and do a save, and I'm going to go ahead in Text Wrangler and open that other page. So there's my About. All right. And then let's go ahead and we've got to clean some things up. One is that our link we don't want the About page to take us to the About page. We want our About page to take us back to the Welcome page, which is our index.html. And I need to change the wording for that. Also, I want to use the other picture of the rainbow. That was rainbow 2. The title needs to change. I'm going to call it About. So let me go ahead and let's save that. Let me go into my Firefox. Nothing's changed. This is my welcome page. Notice the title up at the top of the tab. I'm going to click here, see if it opens up my About page. It is. This is my About page. Notice that here's the different rainbow picture. It's a different size and different picture. My link that I changed. So now I can navigate between those two pages. And then I would simply need to make the corresponding changes. So let's say here you will find all kinds of information about me. Okay, save. Firefox. I'm already on the welcome page. So here you'll find all kinds of information about me. So you would go through putting in all your content, getting it all looking the way that you want. And so what you'll end up with then are the two pages that you really need, the About, the index, and you need the associated images that are going to be used. We're not really using the blank HTML anymore, so technically we don't need that. So you would take, in my case, these 4 files and you would use a FTP program and move them onto web server, because right now these web pages are only accessible to the person on this computer. Nobody else in the world has access to those. To make them accessible, you would need a web server account. You would then need to move these to that web server, and now you would have access to it. All right, I hope that was helpful, informative, and much luck on your assignment.